There's an old saying that what goes around comes around. For most people, this is a vague notion of karma or cosmic justice, but for a select few, the chosen ones, it's much more literal. These rare individuals seem to have an uncanny ability to deflect negativity and ill will, causing curses and attacks to bounce off them and ricochet back to their source. Imagine throwing a rubber ball at a brick wall, only to have it smack you in the face on the rebound. That's essentially what happens when someone tries to harm or curse a chosen one. Their innate protection acts like an invisible shield, causing malicious energy to glance off and return to sender with even greater force. It's as if the universe itself conspires to keep these special people safe, turning their enemies' own weapons against them. This phenomenon has been observed across cultures and throughout history. Ancient myths and legends are filled with tales of heroes and sages who seemed impervious to black magic and evil spells. More recently, there are countless anecdotes of modern-day chosen ones emerging unscathed from situations that should have destroyed them, while their attackers suffer the very fates they had intended for their victims. But who exactly are these chosen ones? What makes them different from regular people? And how does this mystical protection actually work? To understand this enigmatic group, we need to dive deep into the realms of spirituality, psychology, and even quantum physics. At its core, the concept of chosen ones taps into humanity's eternal fascination with the extraordinary. We're drawn to stories of exceptional individuals who defy the odds and achieve the impossible. From religious prophets to comic book superheroes, the idea of people with special gifts or divine protection is deeply ingrained in our collective psyche. In many traditions, chosen ones are thought to be appointed by higher powers for a specific purpose. They might be destined to lead their people, bring about great changes, or serve as a bridge between the earthly and spiritual realms. This divine favor is believed to come with a sort of metaphysical immune system, shielding them from those who would impede their sacred mission. Others view the phenomenon through a more psychological lens. They argue that so-called chosen ones simply have an exceptionally strong sense of self and unshakable belief in their own worth. This inner conviction acts as a kind of psychic armor, naturally repelling negative energy and turning aside attacks. In this interpretation, anyone could potentially become a chosen one by developing the right mindset and spiritual practices. Interestingly, modern physics offers some intriguing parallels to the idea of boomeranging curses. Quantum entanglement shows that particles can be connected in ways that defy classical physics, instantly influencing each other across vast distances. Some theorists speculate that human consciousness might operate on similar principles, allowing for non-local effects that could explain seemingly supernatural phenomena. Whatever the underlying mechanism, the experiences reported by chosen ones and those around them are remarkably consistent. Time and again, we hear stories of curses backfiring, schemes unraveling, and attackers finding themselves ensnared in their own traps. It's as if these individuals are surrounded by an invisible mirror, reflecting harmful intentions back to their source with unerring accuracy. Take the case of Maria Gonzalez, a community activist in Brazil. For years, she fought against corrupt officials and organized crime bosses who were exploiting her neighborhood. Despite numerous threats and attempts on her life, Maria emerged unscathed while her enemies suffered a string of misfortunes. One crime lord who had put a price on her head was arrested after incriminating evidence mysteriously appeared on his own computer. Another died in a freak accident involving the very weapon he had intended to use against her. "I never wished them harm," Maria insists. "I only prayed for justice and the safety of my community. But it was like everything they tried to do to me ended up happening to them instead. After a while, people became afraid to move against me. They said I was protected by powerful spirits." Similar tales emerge from all walks of life. Business executives speak of rival companies imploding after attempting corporate sabotage. Spiritual leaders describe would-be assassins experiencing miraculous changes of heart. Even in the mundane realm of office politics, there are accounts of bullies and manipulators having their tactics blow up in their faces when directed at certain individuals. Of course, skeptics are quick to dismiss such stories as mere coincidence or selective perception. They argue that given enough time and a large enough sample size, it's inevitable that some people will seem improbably lucky or protected. What looks like divine intervention or mystical shielding might simply be the law of averages playing out. This rationalist perspective certainly has merit. Human beings are pattern-seeking creatures, prone to seeing meaning and intention where there may be only random chance. It's entirely possible that the whole concept of chosen ones and boomeranging curses is nothing more than an elaborate exercise in confirmation bias. And yet, the sheer volume and consistency of these accounts give even hardened skeptics pause. When you hear story after story of karmic retribution occurring with laser-like precision, it becomes harder to chalk it all up to coincidence. There seems to be something more at work, some hidden law of human interaction that we're only beginning to understand. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Maybe there really are individuals with an innate gift for deflecting negativity, but rather than relying on magic or divine favor, this ability could stem from a complex interplay of psychology, energy, and little understood quantum effects. By cultivating certain traits and mindsets, it might be possible for anyone to develop this sort of psychic immunity to a greater or lesser degree. So what exactly are these traits that seem to characterize chosen ones? While every individual is unique, there are some common threads that emerge from the various accounts and traditions. Unshakable self-belief. Chosen ones tend to have a rock-solid sense of who they are and what they stand for. This inner certainty acts as an anchor, keeping them steady in the face of attacks and criticism. They don't derive their sense of worth from others' opinions, making it much harder for negative energy to find purchase. Alignment with a higher purpose, whether religious, spiritual, or simply devoted to a cause greater than themselves, chosen ones are typically driven by something beyond personal gain. This connection to a larger meaning seems to imbue them with a sort of metaphysical momentum, allowing them to brush off obstacles that would derail others. Compassion and forgiveness. Ironically, many chosen ones report feeling genuine empathy for those who try to harm them. Rather than harboring resentment or seeking revenge, they're able to view their attackers with understanding and even pity. This absence of hatred or fear seems to short-circuit negative energy, robbing it of fuel. Mindfulness and present-moment awareness. There's often a quality of intense presence in how chosen ones move through the world. They tend to be highly attuned to their surroundings and inner state, allowing them to quickly recognize and deflect incoming threats before they can take root. Surrender to a higher power. Whether conceptualized as God, the universe, or simply the flow of life, chosen ones often describe a sense of yielding to something greater than themselves. This surrender paradoxically becomes a source of immense strength, relieving them of the need to control everything and allowing intuition to guide their actions. An attitude of non-attachment. While chosen ones may work passionately towards their goals, they typically hold the outcomes lightly. This lack of grasping or desperation creates a sort of frictionless state, allowing negative energy to slide off without finding anything to cling to. Energetic coherence. Many traditions speak of chosen ones having particularly clear or harmonious energy fields. Whether viewed as auras, chi, or simply a person's overall vibe, there seems to be a quality of internal alignment that naturally repels dissonant forces. Interestingly, these traits align closely with what many spiritual traditions consider the hallmarks of an enlightened or self-realized individual. This raises the possibility that the phenomenon of boomeranging curses might simply be a natural side effect of personal growth and expanding consciousness. As we evolve spiritually and emotionally, we may naturally become less susceptible to lower vibrational energies like hatred, jealousy, and fear. Just as certain frequencies of sound can shatter glass while leaving other materials unaffected, it's conceivable that negative intentions simply fail to resonate with the energy field of a sufficiently developed individual. This model would explain why chosen ones often report feeling no ill will towards those who attack them. Operating from a higher level of consciousness, they're able to recognize the pain and ignorance driving such actions. The harmful intent passes through them without finding anything to latch onto, and naturally rebounds to its source, the only place where that particular frequency still resonates. Of course, this is not to say that chosen ones are invincible or immune to all harm. Physical attacks can still cause injury, and prolonged exposure to negativity can take its toll even on the most centered individual. The protection they enjoy seems to be more about deflecting malicious intent and karmic consequences rather than providing blanket immunity to all misfortune. Indeed, many chosen ones report that their gift comes with its own unique challenges. The constant influx of rebounding negative energy can be draining, requiring diligent self-care and energetic hygiene. There's also the risk of developing a messiah complex or becoming overly reliant on this protection, potentially stunting further growth. Moreover, watching one's attackers suffer the consequences of their own actions is not always a pleasant experience, even when it's clearly deserved. Many chosen ones speak of the heavy responsibility that comes with their gift, and the importance of using it wisely and compassionately. It's not about punishment or revenge, explains John Hawkins, a British psychic who claims to have experienced the boomerang effect numerous times. It's more like a natural law asserting itself, but that doesn't make it any easier to watch someone get hurt, even if they brought it on themselves. I've had to do a lot of work on forgiveness and letting go. This brings us to an important point. The phenomenon of boomeranging curses doesn't negate the need for practical action and boundaries. Chosen ones still need to exercise discernment in their dealings with others and take sensible precautions against harm. The protection they enjoy seems to work best when combined with wisdom and common sense. It's also worth noting that not all chosen ones are aware of their gift, at least initially. Many go through life feeling vaguely lucky, or noticing that those who cross them tend to experience misfortune, without fully understanding the dynamics at play. It often takes a particularly dramatic incident or the insights of a spiritual teacher for them to recognize their unique abilities. This raises some intriguing questions about the nature of choice and destiny. Are chosen ones born or made? Is it a fixed trait or something that can be developed? The answer likely depends on one's broader metaphysical views, but most traditions suggest it's a bit of both. There may be individuals with a natural predisposition towards this ability, but dedicated spiritual practice can apparently cultivate it to some degree in almost anyone. The implications of this are profound. If the ability to deflect negativity and transform curse into blessing is indeed a learnable skill, it could revolutionize our approach to conflict resolution and personal growth. Imagine a world where attacks and insults naturally rebounded to their source, depriving hatred of its power and creating a built-in incentive for kindness and understanding. Of course, we're a long way from that utopian vision, but the existence of chosen ones and the boomerang effect offers a tantalizing glimpse of human potential. It suggests that we may have far more control over our energetic interactions than we realize, and that cultivating the right inner state could dramatically change how we experience the world. So how can an ordinary person begin to develop these abilities? While there's no guaranteed formula for becoming a chosen one, spiritual teachers and those who have experienced the phenomenon offer some common advice. Cultivate self-awareness. The first step is to become intimately familiar with your own energy and thought patterns. Meditation, mindfulness practices, and regular self-reflection can help you recognize when you're absorbing negativity from others versus simply reacting to your own stuff. Practice non-resistance. Instead of fighting against negative energy or perceived attacks, experiment with simply allowing them to pass through you. Visualize yourself as transparent, or imagine the energy flowing around you like water around a rock. Focus on raising your vibration. Engage in activities and practices that genuinely make you feel good and aligned with your highest self. This could be anything from prayer and yoga to creative expression or time in nature. The goal is to create an energy field that's naturally inhospitable to lower frequencies. Develop compassion. Make a conscious effort to see the humanity in everyone, even those who may wish you harm. Try to understand the pain or fear driving their actions. This doesn't mean tolerating abuse, but rather viewing it with detached compassion. Work on non-attachment. Practice holding your desires and expectations lightly. Notice when you're grasping or overly invested in specific outcomes. The more you can surrender to the flow of life, the less hooks negativity will find in your psyche. Strengthen your energetic boundaries. Visualize a protective shield or bubble around yourself, not to deflect everything, but to filter out harmful energies while allowing positive ones through. Some find it helpful to work with crystals, protective symbols, or other focusing tools. Align with a higher purpose. Reflect on what truly matters to you and how you can be of service to something greater than yourself. This connection can serve as a powerful anchor and source of protection. Cultivate gratitude and positivity. Make it a habit to focus on the good in your life and in the world around you. This doesn't mean denying problems, but rather approaching them from a place of appreciation and possibility, rather than fear or resentment. Trust your intuition. Pay attention to your gut feelings and subtle energetic cues. Often our bodies and subconscious minds pick up on threats or imbalances before our conscious awareness catches up. Take responsibility for your own energy. Remember that you always have a choice in how you respond to any situation. Practice catching yourself when you start to spiral into negativity and consciously shift your state. It's important to approach these practices with patience and self-compassion. Developing Chosen One-like abilities is not about achieving some perfect state of invulnerability. Rather, it's an ongoing journey of growth and self-discovery. Even small shifts in how you relate to negative energy can have profound effects over time. As with any spiritual or energetic practice, it's also crucial to stay grounded and balanced. The goal isn't to become so detached that you're unaffected by anything, but rather to engage fully with life while maintaining your center. Regular physical exercise, time in nature, and connection with loved ones can help keep you anchored as you explore subtler realms of experience. It's also worth noting that the path of a chosen one isn't for everyone. Some people may find that they're better suited to other forms of spiritual practice or personal development. The key is to honor your own unique journey and not get caught up in comparing yourself to others or chasing after supernatural abilities. For those who do feel called to explore this path, the potential rewards are immense. Beyond just protection from curses and negative intent, cultivating these qualities can lead to a profound sense of peace, purpose, and connection with all of life. Many who develop Chosen One abilities report feeling a deep sense of trust in the universe and an ability to move through the world with grace and ease. As our understanding of consciousness and energy continues to evolve, it's likely that we'll gain new insights into the mechanics of how Chosen Ones operate. Perhaps we'll discover scientific explanations for what now seems mystical, or develop technologies that can detect and measure these subtle interactions. But regardless of how it's ultimately explained, the phenomenon of curses bouncing off Chosen Ones and boomeranging back to their source offers a powerful metaphor for personal and collective transformation. It reminds us that we have more power than we realize to shape our experience of reality, and that the surest way to change the world is to change ourselves. In a time of increasing social division and global challenges, the example of Chosen Ones offers a beacon of hope. It suggests that there may be ways to transcend the cycle of attack and counterattack, to meet hatred with love and fear with understanding. While we may not all become impervious to curses overnight, each step we take towards embodying these qualities creates ripples of positive change. So the next time you find yourself faced with negativity or ill will, consider the possibility that you too might have a touch of the Chosen One within you. Take a deep breath, center yourself in your own truth, and imagine any harmful intent simply glancing off your energetic field. You may be surprised at how quickly the energy shifts, transforming curse into blessing and enemy into unwitting ally. After all, in a universe of infinite possibilities, who's to say that you're not a chosen one in the making? The power to deflect curses and radiate blessings may be your birthright. It's simply a matter of choosing to claim it. As we delve deeper into the phenomenon of chosen ones and their ability to deflect curses, it's important to consider the wider implications of this extraordinary gift. The impact of these individuals extends far beyond their personal experiences, creating ripples that can transform entire communities and even societies. Consider the story of Amira Hassan, a young activist in Egypt who emerged as a powerful voice during the Arab Spring. Despite facing threats, intimidation, and several attempts on her life, Amira seemed to bear a charmed existence. Her attackers repeatedly found themselves exposed, discredited, or caught in the very traps they had set for her. As word of her apparent invulnerability spread, it galvanized the protest movement, inspiring others to speak out against injustice. "I never thought of myself as special or chosen," Amira reflects. "I was just doing what I believed was right. But I noticed that the more I committed to the cause, the more protected I felt. It was like the universe itself was conspiring to keep me safe." This protective aura didn't just benefit Amira personally. It created a sort of energetic bubble that extended to those around her. Fellow activists reported feeling braver and more empowered in her presence. Even skeptics found their doubts melting away when they witnessed the seemingly miraculous way challenges resolved themselves in Amira's favor. This points to an intriguing aspect of the Chosen One phenomenon, its contagious nature. While the full extent of these abilities may be rare, it appears that simply being in the presence of a Chosen One can temporarily boost others' resistance to negativity. It's as if their high vibrational field creates a resonance effect, elevating the energy of those nearby. Some researchers in the field of consciousness studies have likened this to the concept of morphic resonance, proposed by biologist Rupert Sheldrake. This theory suggests that there are invisible fields that shape the behavior of systems at all levels, from atoms to ecosystems to societies. If true, it could explain how the evolved consciousness of chosen ones might create a template that others can more easily tune into and emulate. In many cases, chosen ones serve as powerful catalysts for change, often without consciously intending to do so. Their mere presence can disrupt stagnant systems and bring hidden issues to the surface. This catalytic effect can be both inspiring and deeply unsettling, depending on one's perspective. Take the case of Dr. Maya Patel, a whistleblower who exposed widespread corruption in the pharmaceutical industry. As she began to speak out, Dr. Patel found herself targeted by a coordinated campaign of harassment and character assassination. Yet every attempt to discredit her not only failed, but ended up revealing even deeper layers of misconduct within the industry. It was like watching a cosmic domino effect, Dr. Patel recalls. Each attack would backfire spectacularly, exposing 10 new problems for everyone they tried to cover up. After a while, I started to feel almost sorry for them. It was clear they were fighting against something much bigger than me. This cascade of revelations ultimately led to major reforms in drug testing and approval processes, potentially saving countless lives. Dr. Patel's journey highlights how chosen ones often serve as instruments of necessary change, even when that change is uncomfortable or disruptive in the short term. It's worth noting that this catalytic effect isn't always immediately recognized as positive. Chosen ones can be divisive figures, revered by some and reviled by others. Their knack for exposing hidden truths and challenging the status quo can make them targets for those invested in maintaining existing power structures. Yet even this opposition serves a purpose, bringing long, simmering conflicts to a head and forcing communities to confront difficult issues. In this way, chosen ones act as a kind of societal immune system, provoking crises that ultimately lead to greater health and balance. The concept of individuals with special protection or abilities to deflect harm is not unique to our modern understanding. Throughout history and across cultures, we find numerous examples of figures who seem to embody the qualities of what we now call chosen ones. These stories, whether viewed as literal truth or allegorical wisdom, offer insight into humanity's long-standing fascination with the idea of divine protection and karmic justice. In Greek mythology, we have the tale of Achilles, who was invulnerable to injury except for his infamous heel. While not a perfect parallel to our modern chosen ones, as his protection was more physical than spiritual, Achilles represents the archetype of the divinely favored hero, whose gifts come with both power and profound responsibility. The Judeo-Christian tradition offers numerous examples of figures protected by divine favor. Moses, leading the Israelites out of Egypt, was shielded from Pharaoh's wrath by a series of plagues that seemed to target only those who opposed him. In the New Testament, we see Jesus consistently escaping attempts on his life until the moment he chooses to accept his fate, demonstrating a mastery over circumstance that aligns closely with chosen one attributes. Islamic tradition speaks of individuals known as the Awliya Allah, or Friends of God, who are believed to be under divine protection. These saints are said to have the ability to perform karamat, or minor miracles including protection from harm, and the ability to influence events in subtle ways. In Hindu mythology, avatars and enlightened sages often display abilities that mirror those of chosen ones. The concept of karma itself, central to Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, aligns closely with the idea of negative actions rebounding on their source. Native American traditions speak of medicine men and women with the power to deflect curses and negative energy. These individuals were often seen as bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds, embodying many of the qualities we associate with modern chosen ones. In African traditional religions, we find the concept of people who are Irun, or spiritually reinforced against mystical attack. These individuals are believed to have an innate spiritual strength that causes harm to rebound on those who wish them ill. Even in the realm of folklore and fairy tales, we find countless stories of heroes and heroines protected by unseen forces, often as a reward for their virtue or as part of a greater destiny. These tales, passed down through generations, may be encoding deep truths about human potential and the nature of reality. As we examine these historical and mythological precedents, patterns begin to emerge. Across cultures and eras, chosen ones are typically characterized by a strong moral compass or alignment with divine will, a greater purpose or destiny that extends beyond personal gain, trials or initiations that awaken their latent gifts, a responsibility to use their abilities in service of others, challenges that test their faith and resolve. These common threads suggest that the phenomenon of chosen ones taps into something fundamental about the human experience and our understanding of cosmic justice. Whether viewed through a spiritual, psychological, or cultural lens, these stories reflect our deep-seated belief in the triumph of good over evil and the power of the human spirit to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. By examining how different cultures have conceptualized and revered their chosen ones, we gain valuable perspective on our modern experiences. We see that the current emergence of individuals with the ability to deflect curses and transmute negative energy is not without precedent. Rather, it may be a continuation or evolution of a phenomenon that has been with us throughout human history. This historical context also offers a word of caution. Many of the chosen ones of myth and legend faced great challenges, jealousy from others, and the temptation to misuse their gifts. Their stories remind us that with great power comes great responsibility, and that the path of the chosen one is often as much about inner growth and wisdom as it is about external demonstrations of power. As we continue to explore and understand the modern manifestation of chosen ones, we would do well to heed the lessons embedded in these ageless stories. They remind us of the potential latent within every human being, the importance of ethical use of any gifts we may possess, and the ultimate interconnectedness of all things. While the ability to deflect curses and transform negative energy is undoubtedly powerful, it's not without its challenges. Many chosen ones speak of a dark night of the soul that often precedes or accompanies the awakening of their gifts. This period of intense spiritual and emotional upheaval can be profoundly disorienting. As their perception of reality shifts, chosen ones may struggle to relate to friends and family who don't share their experiences. There can be a deep sense of isolation and even doubt about one's own sanity. Moreover, the constant barrage of rebounding negative energy can take a toll, even if it doesn't cause direct harm. Many chosen ones describe feeling energetically drained or overwhelmed, especially in the early stages of coming into their power. Learning to manage and channel this energy becomes a crucial part of their journey. There's also the risk of ego inflation and spiritual bypassing. Some chosen ones become so enamored with their apparent invulnerability that they neglect their own growth or dismiss the valid concerns of others. This can lead to a kind of spiritual narcissism that ultimately undermines their gifts and alienates potential allies. It's a delicate balance, explains Sophia Chen, a Qigong master who works with developing chosen ones. The ego loves to latch onto the idea of being special or invincible, but true power comes from humility and a recognition of our interconnectedness with all beings. The moment you start thinking you're above others is the moment you start to lose your protection. This paradox, that the very belief in one's chosen status can negate it, points to the subtle and often counterintuitive nature of these abilities. It suggests that the highest expression of being a chosen one is to release all attachment to the idea of being chosen at all. As we've explored the individual experiences of chosen ones, a larger question emerges. Could the increasing reports of these abilities point to a broader shift in human consciousness? Some spiritual teachers and futurists believe we're witnessing the early stages of a collective evolutionary leap. According to this perspective, the appearance of more chosen ones is a sign that humanity as a whole is developing greater resistance to lower vibrational energies. As our collective consciousness expands, more individuals are spontaneously awakening to their innate spiritual gifts. This idea aligns with various indigenous prophecies and spiritual traditions that speak of a coming age of enlightenment or expanded awareness. Whether viewed through the lens of Hinduism's Satya Yuga, the Hopi concept of the fifth world, or New Age ideas about ascending to 5D consciousness, there's a common thread of humanity evolving beyond its current limitations. Of course, such sweeping claims should be approached with healthy skepticism. It's easy to see patterns where none exist, or to project our hopes for a better world onto ambiguous phenomena. Yet the sheer number of people reporting chosen one-like experiences does suggest that something significant is occurring. Dr. Eliza Thornton, a psychologist specializing in exceptional human experiences, offers a more measured take. While I'm hesitant to make grand pronouncements about human evolution, we are definitely seeing an uptick in reports of what we might call anomalous resilience. More people seem to be developing an unusual capacity to thrive in the face of adversity and to transform negative situations in almost miraculous ways. Now, Dr. Thornton is quick to point out that this doesn't necessarily imply anything supernatural. It could simply be that we're getting better at recognizing and nurturing these latent human potentials. As our understanding of neuroplasticity and the mind-body connection deepens, we're discovering just how adaptable and resilient humans can be under the right circumstances. This more grounded perspective doesn't diminish the significance of the Chosen One phenomenon. If anything, it makes it more relevant to everyday life. It suggests that with the right mindset and practices, anyone can cultivate greater resilience and an ability to transmute negative energy. As we consider the possibility of more people developing these abilities, it's worth exploring the potential impact on a societal and even global scale. How might the world change if a significant portion of the population became impervious to curses and able to transmute negative energy? On the surface, it might seem like a clear positive: less conflict, more harmony, a natural dampening of harmful intentions, and indeed many of the changes would likely be beneficial. We might see a decrease in bullying, a natural decline in corrupt practices as they become increasingly self-defeating, and a general elevation of public discourse. However, the ripple effects could be far more profound and not entirely predictable. Our current social, economic, and political systems are built on certain assumptions about human nature and behavior. A widespread shift in how people respond to negativity and manipulation could necessitate a fundamental reimagining of many institutions. For instance, how would our legal system need to evolve if karmic justice became swift and visible? Would prisons and punitive measures become obsolete, replaced by centers for healing and rehabilitation? How would businesses change if exploitative practices reliably backfired on those attempting them? In the realm of international relations, we might see a natural decline in warfare and armed conflict as aggression increasingly rebounds on the aggressor. This could lead to a more collaborative approach to global problem-solving, with nations working together to address shared challenges rather than competing for dominance. Media and advertising might undergo a radical transformation, moving away from fear-based messaging and manipulation towards more authentic and uplifting forms of communication. As people become less susceptible to fear-mongering and division, we could see a renaissance of investigative journalism and a renewed focus on unifying narratives. Education systems might evolve to place greater emphasis on emotional intelligence, energy management, and the development of innate human potential. Curriculum could expand to include practices for maintaining energetic hygiene and transmuting negative experiences into opportunities for growth. In the field of healthcare, we might see a shift towards more holistic and preventative approaches as the link between emotional, spiritual well-being and physical health becomes undeniable. The ability to consciously transmute negative energy could revolutionize our understanding of the mind-body connection and open new avenues for healing. Even our approach to environmental issues could be transformed. As more people develop an expanded sense of self that includes the natural world, we might see a spontaneous shift towards more sustainable practices and a deeper commitment to planetary stewardship. Of course, this utopian vision comes with caveats. Any significant shift in human consciousness is likely to be met with resistance from those invested in the old paradigm. We might see attempts to discredit or even persecute those displaying Chosen One abilities, or efforts to co-opt and commercialize these gifts. There's also the question of how such abilities would be verified and what it might mean for concepts of equality and human rights. Would those without apparent curse-deflecting abilities be seen as less evolved or less valuable? How would we safeguard against the creation of a new spiritual elite? These are complex ethical questions that would need to be grappled with as a society. The key would be to approach this evolution with wisdom, compassion, and a recognition of our fundamental interconnectedness. As reports of Chosen One phenomena continue to increase, there's a growing interest in bridging the gap between spiritual wisdom and scientific understanding. Researchers from various fields are beginning to study these experiences using rigorous methodologies, seeking to understand the mechanisms at play. Dr. Mikio Carson, a quantum physicist turned consciousness researcher, is at the forefront of this emerging field. What we're seeing with Chosen Ones bears striking similarities to certain quantum effects, he explains. The observer effect, non-locality, entanglement. These quantum principles could help explain how intention and consciousness interact with physical reality in ways that seem miraculous from a classical perspective. Dr. Carson and his team are using advanced brain imaging techniques to study individuals who consistently demonstrate an ability to deflect negativity and transform challenging situations. Early results suggest unique patterns of neural coherence and heightened activity in areas of the brain associated with empathy and intuition. Meanwhile, epigeneticists are exploring how beliefs and spiritual practices might influence gene expression, potentially explaining the profound physiological changes often reported by chosen ones. This research could revolutionize our understanding of human potential and the malleability of our physical reality. In the field of psychology, there's growing interest in the concept of post-traumatic growth and stress-induced transformation. The journeys of many chosen ones align closely with these models, suggesting that their abilities might be extreme examples of the human capacity for resilience and positive adaptation in the face of adversity. As our scientific understanding deepens, we may find ways to intentionally cultivate these abilities on a broader scale. This could lead to new therapeutic modalities, educational approaches, and even technologies designed to enhance our natural capacity for energy transmutation and reality creation. As we contemplate the increasing emergence of chosen ones and the potential for these abilities to become more widespread, it's crucial to grapple with the ethical implications and potential societal impact of this phenomenon. The power to deflect curses and transmute negative energy is not ethically neutral. It comes with significant responsibilities and raises complex questions about free will, personal boundaries, and the nature of justice. One of the primary ethical concerns is the potential for abuse or misuse of these abilities. If someone can consistently redirect negative energy back to its source, there's a risk of this becoming a form of passive aggression or even a weapon. How do we ensure that chosen ones use their gifts responsibly and don't succumb to the temptation to punish or manipulate others? Dr. Elena Kovacs, an ethicist specializing in emerging technologies and human enhancement, emphasizes the need for a robust ethical framework. As these abilities become more recognized and potentially more common, we need to establish clear guidelines and norms, she argues. This might include education on ethical use of these gifts, accountability measures, and perhaps even legal considerations. Another critical issue is the question of consent. If a chosen one's ability to transmute energy affects others, even indirectly, do those individuals have a right to be informed or to opt out? This becomes particularly thorny when we consider the often unconscious nature of negative intentions. Should someone be subject to karmic backlash for thoughts or feelings they haven't consciously chosen to act upon? There are also broader societal implications to consider. In a world where negative actions reliably backfire on their originators, we might see significant shifts in behavior and social structures. While this could lead to more harmonious interactions, it might also create new forms of inequality or social stratification based on one's level of spiritual development or energetic mastery. The legal system would likely need to evolve to account for these new dynamics. How do we handle cases where harm occurs through the boomerang effect of a deflected curse? Is the chosen one responsible, or the original sender of negative energy? These questions challenge our traditional notions of causality and culpability. In the realm of mental health and personal development, the emergence of chosen one abilities raises important questions about resilience and coping mechanisms. While the ability to naturally deflect negativity is generally positive, there's a risk of it becoming a crutch that prevents individuals from developing other important emotional skills. We need to be careful not to create a two-tiered system of those who can easily brush off negative energy and those who can't, warns Dr. Kovacs. There's value in learning to process difficult emotions and experiences. We shouldn't lose sight of that in our admiration of chosen one abilities. The potential for these abilities to be commodified or exploited for commercial gain is another concern. We can easily imagine a future where corporations offer training programs promising to awaken your inner chosen one, or where individuals with these gifts are pressured to monetize their abilities. Safeguarding against exploitation while still allowing for ethical ways to share and teach these skills will be a delicate balance. On a geopolitical scale, the implications are equally profound. How would international relations change if political leaders knew their negative actions would reliably backfire? Could this lead to a more peaceful world, or would it simply drive nefarious activities further underground? The potential for chosen one abilities to disrupt existing power structures is both exciting and potentially destabilizing. There are also important philosophical questions to grapple with. If negative energy consistently returns to its source, what does this mean for our understanding of free will and personal responsibility? Does it suggest a universe with an inherent moral framework? And if so, how do we reconcile this with our scientific understanding of reality? As we navigate these complex ethical waters, it's crucial to remain open to diverse perspectives and to approach the issue with humility. The emergence of chosen one abilities challenges many of our assumptions about the nature of reality and human potential. Our ethical frameworks will need to evolve alongside our understanding of these phenomena. Dr. Kovacs suggests that we look to existing ethical guidelines in fields like medicine, psychology, and energy work as starting points. We don't need to reinvent the wheel entirely, she says. Many of the ethical principles we've developed in other domains, respect for autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, can be adapted to this new paradigm. Ultimately, the ethical use of chosen one abilities may come down to intention and awareness. As these gifts become more recognized and potentially more widespread, cultivating wisdom, compassion, and a strong moral compass becomes ever more crucial. The true mark of a chosen one may not be their ability to deflect curses, but their commitment to using their gifts in service of the greater good. As we move forward into this new frontier of human potential, ongoing dialogue between spiritual teachers, scientists, ethicists, policymakers, and the general public will be essential. By thoughtfully engaging with these ethical considerations now, we can help shape a future where the emergence of chosen one abilities contributes to greater harmony, justice, and collective flourishing. As we've explored the phenomenon of chosen ones and their ability to bounce curses back to their source, we've touched on themes that resonate with some of humanity's deepest questions. Who are we? What are we capable of? How do we relate to the unseen forces that shape our lives? The emergence of more individuals displaying these remarkable abilities invites us all to expand our conception of what's possible. It challenges us to question our assumptions about the nature of reality and our place within it. Perhaps most importantly, it offers a vision of human potential that is at once inspiring and deeply empowering. Whether or not we personally identify as chosen ones, we can all learn from their examples. The core qualities that seem to underlie their gifts, self-awareness, compassion, alignment with higher purpose, and a non-resistant approach to life's challenges, are virtues worth cultivating regardless of any supernatural outcomes. As we move forward into an uncertain future, the wisdom embodied by chosen ones may prove invaluable. In a world grappling with unprecedented global challenges, the ability to transmute negativity into positive change is more crucial than ever. By embracing these principles collectively, we may find new solutions to age-old problems and uncover reservoirs of human potential we've only begun to tap. Ultimately, the phenomenon of curses bouncing off chosen ones and returning to their source is a powerful metaphor for personal and collective transformation. It reminds us that we have more influence over our reality than we often realize, and that the most potent change always begins within. So perhaps the real question isn't whether you're a chosen one, but rather, how will you choose to engage with the endless possibilities of your own consciousness? In a universe of infinite potential, the power to deflect curses and radiate blessings may indeed be your birthright and humanity's collective destiny. As we stand on the threshold of what may be a new chapter in human evolution, let us move forward with curiosity, compassion, and a willingness to embrace the extraordinary. For in doing so, we may just discover that we are all, in our own unique ways, chosen to participate in the unfolding miracle of existence.